Hey Ferret fam, welcome back to the channel. Happy to see you here today. Thank you for joining me. Our topic today is 15 tips for optimal ferret health. If you follow all of these tips, or as many tips as you can, your ferrets will have the best possible chance at optimal health, long, happy, quality lives. First, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and consider joining the channel. I also wanted to announce a new project that I am involved in. Many of us know the truth behind pet store ferrets and ferret mills, and the number of ferrets that are subject to cruel testing and overbreeding in these facilities. Myself and a few other ferret parents decided to create Ferret Freedom Fighters. This is a group dedicated to spread awareness and advocacy for ferret care, health, information on ferret testing and ferret mills, hopefully minimize the amount of people buying pet store ferrets along with mill-produced products. If you're interested in joining the fight, I will have the links below. If you're new here, hi, my name is Bryn. I am an animal care content creator here on YouTube with a focus in ferrets and nutrition. I have been studying nutrition for over a year now, and I also have focuses in holistic care, raising and maintenance of animals. And as always, my sources for this video will all be linked below. Moving on to the topic of this video, 15 tips for optimal ferret health. And we are going to start with number 15. Number 15 is find a holistic veterinarian. Now, this is not to say that conventional veterinarians are not perfectly capable of treating your ferrets, and if you go to one of them instead of a holistic vet, that your ferret isn't going to receive quality treatment and care. Holistic veterinarians often offer a larger variety of therapies and treatments, such as homeopathy. Homeopathy is a practice of medicine that embraces the holistic approach to treatments and therapies. It focuses more on the cure for the animal rather than alleviating the symptoms, which is what most conventional therapies focus on. For example, this might include acupuncture, herbal treatments, medicinal mushrooms, chiropractic treatment, nutrient adjustments, integrated medicine, and more. Like with skin allergies, for example, a lot of our dogs, cats, and ferrets have issues with allergies. Conventional veterinarians will most likely prescribe something like a steroid. Steroids will help alleviate symptoms, but they will not generally cure allergies. Many times allergies can actually be connected to the gut microbiome, also called the forgotten organ. And I can speak on this with personal experience as someone with a chronic skin condition. The only thing that has helped me, and I have tried various steroid, cortisone type treatments, the only thing that has helped me is adjusting my diet, staying away from histamine foods, and eating a lot of probiotics or good bacteria. So if you have a holistic veterinarian in your area, I highly recommend reaching out to them. Also, usually they are more open to raw, DIY, homemade, prepared diets, unlike conventional veterinarians. Oftentimes, and I also speak from experience as well as from what other people have told me, sometimes conventional veterinarians will try to link most issues to the diet, to the raw diet, vomiting, diarrhea, any sort of issue if they're unsure. Sometimes their first thought is that it's the raw diet making the pet sick, which is not usually the case. Another little tidbit that I found on Alternative Vet's website that I wanted to share here with you guys, and I think it will be helpful. When an animal is ill, there are 3 factors that contribute to their chances of recovering. The first one is, has the animal the mechanism and the will to heal? This one is partially out of our control, but we can control our attitude. It's important that we stay positive when we receive possibly a grim prognosis for something. It's proven that animals can sense our stress and when we're upset, so it's best in these times, and also just the entire time when we have the animal, of course, is to just have a positive outlook on things. We have to keep it together, not only for us, but for our pets. Number 2, has the prescriber the ability and the insight to find the correct stimulus for that ability? Instead of using a one-size-fits-all view of things, which is what is usually the case with conventional veterinarians and pharmaceutical therapies, but even then, even if you have a holistic veterinarian, this is also important, they are creating an individual therapy for each animal. There is not a one-size-fits-all type medicine or treatment. That's what we believe in as holistic caregivers. Read the clues and determine the best route of treatment. If your vet doesn't have a large understanding of ferrets, I highly recommend finding someone who does. This can sometimes make or break the recovery process for a ferret if the veterinarian or the prescriber does not have that knowledge base with ferrets, and usually they'll be pretty upfront with you about this before you make the appointment if they do see ferrets on a regular basis, and or if they have a lot of experience dealing with types of chronic issues and whatnot. And then number 3, has the animal's care team the determination and the will to eliminate any obstacles in the path of recovery. You want to have to help your pet. Your veterinarian can give you a whole treatment plan, but it is totally up to you to have the funds and the willpower to actually follow through with that treatment. If you don't have the money, then obviously you're not going to be able to give your ferrets or your pets what they really need. At the end of the day, you have the final say. Can't tell you how many times young folk have messaged me complaining that their parents are refusing to get the ferret treatment, or they don't have enough savings to pay for a therapy. This is extremely heartbreaking for me to have to read, so this factor is especially important to those of you who do not have ferrets yet. Please consider this before getting ferrets, or any animal for that matter. All right, moving on to the next tip, and that is pay attention to air quality. This is one that is commonly overlooked. Ferrets are such small creatures. They are very sensitive, and especially the respiratory system. Make sure you're keeping their areas tidy. A lot of the odor and built up ammonia can come from often dirty litter boxes or full pee pads. Clean up any accidents in a timely manner. Make sure you're washing their bedding weekly in hypoallergenic detergent and vinegar, as well as making sure that they have access to a large enough space. Smaller spaces tend to get that buildup of dirty smells. The bigger their area, the less of a chance that it has to actually build up and cause issues. Always make sure to remove that cage cover during the day so that the ferrets get enough quality airflow. Number 13, if you are a raw feeder and you do not feed whole prey, make sure that you're incorporating other sources of vitamins and minerals to make the diet more complete. Whole prey in itself is a complete diet option. A lot of people don't choose that route simply because it is quite expensive and you do need a lot of freezer space. So most people do a Frankenprey DIY style raw diet for them. And unfortunately, without that fur, feathers, fiber sources that they would get normally from whole prey, their diet can be deficient in trace minerals such as manganese and iodine and things of that nature. Some good examples are green tripe for probiotics. This is considered a muscle meat. Bone broth as a natural joint supplement aid. Green-lipped mussels or blue-lipped mussels for manganese, and fish for iodine and fatty acids weekly. I have blog posts dedicated to all of those food items that I just listed, and I will have links to those below. Number 12, get them a friend. Ferrets are social animals and benefit from having friends. I have many resources on this topic on my channel, so make sure to check those out. Number 11, make sure your ferrets are hydrated. Dehydration can lead to many issues in a ferret. If feeding a dry diet, all of the water pretty much from the ingredients that have been put into that food are removed from the food prior to your ferret eating it, so they do need to drink a lot of water to compensate for that loss. I highly suggest feeding any dry food soaked in water. This will help work to keep your ferrets hydrated, and if you're a raw feeder, I still drizzle water or bone broth over my ferrets' meals to make sure that they're getting that hydration. A dehydrated ferret is at risk of developing bladder stones and crystals in their urine along with UTIs. Number 10, keep your ferrets at an ideal weight, and this can be quite difficult. Weight loss is done via mostly diet along with exercise. So if you're exercising your ferret a lot but you're feeding them a diet high of carb and starch, it's going to be very hard for them to regulate their weight and to actually lose that weight. The same can be said for people as well. You should be able to feel your ferret's bones, but you shouldn't necessarily be able to see them. You might see a little bit of a hip bone, but that's about it. If your ferret has a very pear-shaped body, they may maybe slightly overweight or overweight. For example, Tanji is actually slightly overweight, believe it or not. He came to us extremely malnourished, and he now eats so much food, I feel like, to compensate for that he has grown a little bit too heavy. So we are working on this with him both via exercise daily, along with adjusting his portions, watching his portions, making sure that he doesn't eat too much. Number 9, don't burn candles or diffuse essential oils around your ferrets. This has killed pets in the past before. These products cannot be naturally synthesized by the ferret, so just over time it starts building up in their organs until it becomes toxic. I will have more on that in the description of the video if you're interested in learning more about essential oils and candles. Number 8, this is a bit of a controversial one and is my opinion: minimize flea and tick preventatives as best you can. I do have an entire blog post on this topic, but I haven't actually gone into detail here on my channel because the issue with that, and the reason why I'm not always going into detail about vaccines and what I do for that, is because people like to replicate what they see online before actually going off and doing their own research and talking to their veterinarian first. But for preventatives, I will openly say that I do not recommend or use flea and tick preventatives. That's not to say that you shouldn't get your ferrets seen by the vet if they do have fleas or if they do have an attached tick. This is talking about the preventatives, the monthly medication that you can give your ferrets to prevent fleas and ticks. In the blog post, I talk about the most common flea and tick preventatives used in ferrets, as well as the most common ingredients used in these types of products. You have imidacloprid, pyriproxyfen, you've got moxidectin, selamectin, BHT preservative. Make sure to check that out. They are chemical pesticides, so with anything for those types of products, there will be a list of side effects. They also are just not always effective. I do have a list of alternative ways that you can prevent flea and ticks in the blog post as well. Again, I want to reiterate, this is not to say that you shouldn't get medical intervention if your ferrets have fleas or ticks. Number 7, keep your ferrets mentally stimulated. Ferrets, just like we do, if we're doing the same thing day in and day out, they will get bored, and I just posted an entire video on boredom in ferrets. Make sure to check that out. Take them on car rides, walk them, anything to switch up their daily routine. Number 6, avoid stressing your ferrets. Ferrets, in comparison to other companion animals like dogs and cats and horses, tend to do better with a change in environment and a change in routine, but they can still become stressed just like any other animal. A stressed ferret is not a healthy ferret. Avoid doing things like playing loud music all the time, setting off fireworks, having lots of people over, letting a lot of strangers handle the ferrets. Introducing your ferrets too soon to new ferrets can also cause stress, and this also fits into the subcategory minimize artificial lighting as much as you can. Try to follow a natural light cycle for your ferrets, so once the sun goes down, minimize artificial lighting and or provide a completely dark place for them to sleep. I have a nice cozy closet for them full of their beds and their blankets that they sleep in, and it's very dark in there, so that works out very well for us at night when I am working. You may also need to cover their cage in a breathable sheet as well. Artificial lighting is linked to physical stress in the ferret, along with things like adrenal disease. Number 5, learn the symptoms of when your ferrets are feeling unwell. Some examples might be lethargy, depression, they don't want to play anymore, they're sleeping more than usual, although this is kind of common especially with the change in seasons. But if they're doing this a lot, they stop eating, they stop drinking, coughing a lot, sneezing a lot, grinding their teeth when they're eating is a big one, not going to the bathroom is a big one, or their poops come out really thin and small. This is key, you guys. I can't say it enough. Many people let things go unnoticed for months, even years, because they are ignorant to the symptoms of illness in their ferrets. Symptoms can be as small as shaking their head a lot, or maybe just walking around in circles a lot. So I totally forgot about number 4, but number 4 was titer instead of renewing vaccines if you can. See if your vet offers titer testing instead of auto renewal of vaccines. I have an entire video on this topic linked above, but many chronic diseases appear to be related to over-vaccination. Titering is where your vet tests the ferret's antibodies to see if they'd be able to fight off the disease on their own first before deciding to vaccinate. The reason why titering is preferred over auto auto-renewing is because it's proven that a single vaccine is good for the entire life of the ferret, though state requirements and facility requirements, like boarding places or if you need to travel, require the ferret to be vaccinated yearly. Titering is often accepted over proof of vaccination, but make sure to do your research just in case. Ferrets are also especially prone to vaccine reaction and possibly vaccinosis as well. They're such tiny creatures and are very sensitive. Not all vets, though, will offer this service for ferrets, unfortunately, in which case make sure you do your research before deciding on vaccinating. Number 3, this kind of goes along with keeping your ferrets at an ideal weight, but make sure you're exercising your ferrets. Ferrets are pretty sedentary, very low energy pets. You know, some do say that ferrets are good at maintaining their weight naturally. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't get exercise. You know, I'm someone with a fast metabolism, as you can see. I'm pretty skinny, but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't be exercising daily. Number 2, toss the sugary treats. Many of these are often cancer in a bag or a bottle. Some contain pure sugar, malt syrups, molasses, and carcinogenic preservatives, among many other things. Instead, feed single ingredient healthy meat treats. I will have a link to my blog post on healthy treats below. And then the number one thing that you can do to ensure optimal health, well-being, long quality life in your ferret is feed a species appropriate raw diet. You guys all know that I was going to say that and save that for first, but the reason why I have it as number 1 is because the bulk of metabolic disease can be linked to poor diet. Starch and carbohydrates and other indigestibles, inappropriate ingredients in pet foods. They also often contain things like artificial dyes, flavorings, preservatives, and some of those preservatives and dyes are carcinogenic. If you want to learn more about raw diets for ferrets, because they do need to be done in a precise manner, I'll have all the links below. I also have a mentoring program if you are looking to have a mentor during the transition to raw. Ferrets are obligate carnivores, making them more sensitive to dietary adjustments and changes. They have very strict requirements. While the body is very resilient and there have been ferrets that have lived long lives on kibble, absence of visible disease is not an indicator of good health. There are many people who have lived long lives, who are living long lives on poor diets, but oftentimes those people encounter many issues, metabolic diseases in their lifetime. Ferrets can't speak our language, so unlike people, they can't communicate when they're feeling uncomfortable. It's up to us to make sure that we are doing our best in providing the most natural diet for them. Now, if you can't feed raw, there are still some alternatives that you can do to help make their life healthier. That video will be linked at the top of the screen. All right, guys, that is all that we have for you today. Hope you enjoyed the video and hope you learned a thing or two. Again, please do not feel bad if you cannot follow all of these steps. The most important thing is that you try your best. Do as many of them as you can. Do not forget to follow the Ferret Freedom Fighters and also this channel. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!